What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are back with, well, I say back, we're back with another MTG Arena video. This being different from what we have done recently. We are going to, as you can see from this thing here, it is renewal season soon, aka rotation is coming. And that is important for many different reasons, but the main reason is because there are going to be sets rotating out of standard. Namely, well, we'll see in a minute. But
is this thing what the artichokes guy had shooting out of his hands?
Stony Strength? No. This is apparently,
like
it's apparently a gift that is in our profile.
Oh.
Renewal, September 26th. Right now, apparently that's all that does, but on September 26th, I guess we'll find out what that is. But anyway, and there's more stuff in the store because there's always more stuff in the store. Look, you can pre-order Throne of Eldraine. Look at how angry she looks.
Yeah.
And then there's Garruk Cursed Huntsman, or Cursed Huntsman, however you prefer to pronounce it. But still, Throne of Eldraine is coming. And with that being said, now that there's Throne of Eldraine. Amy and I, speaking of rotation, have a lot of packs. And a lot of packs for sets that are going to be rotating, like Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Dominaria, and Corset 2019.
I don't like that sound.
The pack noise?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I don't like that sound at all. It's like bad ASMR.
All right. All right. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. So anyway, so at minimum today, we're going to try to get these packs that are going to be rotating opened so that we can see what's inside of them. And then if we've got time or in later videos, we can do Guilds, Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, and Corset 2020 as well. Because again, once Throne of Eldraine gets here, I'm sure we'll have packs of that to open as well. So, without further ado, you want to do them 10 at a time?
Sure.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, so
Why does there have to be thunder because we opened a pack?
Because it's epic, that's why.
Oh. Okay.
So, cool, interestingly...
Wish I had been prepared.
We got Glacial Fortress, which is cool. Enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island, and it produces blue or white, which is important. We also got Settle the Wreckage, which is a very good card. So there's that. I mean, obviously, all these things, as the game told us, and as we know from announcements and stuff, it will go into the historic mode on Arena, which, to be fair, I cannot imagine we would be playing much historic, but, never say never, I guess.
Yeah.
Burning Sun's Avatar is a fun card. It's a little expensive, and it's triple red, but it does very good things in dealing 3 damage to target opponent or planeswalker, and 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. So that's nice. River's Rebuke for 6, returning all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand. So you just wipe everything on their board and then swing in for a bunch and kill them. And Entrancing Melody, you can gain control of target creature with converted mana cost X. So these are fine. Like Dreamcaller Siren is interesting. When it enters, if you control another pirate, tap up to 2 target non-land permanents, and it has flash, so you can kind of do it at the end of their turn and then be able to attack with this thing for 3 on your turn. Revel in Riches is kind of just a fun card of, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you get a treasure. So you just try to get a bunch of treasures and you could automatically win, but, that's kind of a janky thing to try. I don't think it works very well. But Amy, we got a Merfolk too. The Herald of Secret Streams.
I do like him a lot.
Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them can't be blocked. So this is usually very good in the Merfolk deck because you just get +1/+1 counters on all your Merfolks with the different abilities that they had through Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan. And this guy would make them unblockable, which is really cool.
He's got that wicked cool elbow fin.
That is what everybody likes about him. Clearly, he's got that like championship jade belt on his waist as well. So there you go.
He's pretty kick-ass.
Of course, Sorcerer's Spyglass as well. Let's not forget. When it enters, you look at target opponent's hand, choose any card name. Activated abilities of sources with a chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So now, notably, when you look at their hand, you don't have to name a card that you just saw in their hand. So if you know that they have, like, a Planeswalker, for example, that you don't want to be able to activate, you can just name that Planeswalker. So Sorcerer's Spyglass is pretty cool in that way. So yeah, you want to open 10 more?
Yeah.
Let's do it. The next 10 give us... Notably, did we get any mythics? I don't think we did. This time we get a mythic wild card and a rare wild card, as well as the ones that just popped up here from, you know, opening packs, earning us wild cards. We have a bunch of different things, actually. So we have Repeating Barrage, which is an interesting card. 3 damage to any target for 3 mana, and then for 5 mana, you can return it from your graveyard to your hand if you attacked with a creature this turn.
Oh.
So you can return it to your hand, shoot something for 3, return it to your hand, shoot something for 3, hence the repeating portion of Repeating Barrage. Mm-hmm. We have another Sorcerer's Spyglass, so at least now we have 2. It's not the worst in the world. I'm sure we have others as well. I have not memorized our collection here. Tecatli Honor Guard, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger, which is kind of a big deal. And then this one's fun. Sunbird's Invocation is fun. I've never actually been able to make it work myself, but I've seen some people give it a try, and it seems kind of cool. 6 mana for an enchantment, so you need to get up to 6 mana, which kind of sucks. But it says, when you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Cool.
So you get free spells sometimes, maybe, but probably not.
And that art is insane.
You like that?
Yeah, they really did make it look like the sun.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Christine Choi is the artist on that one, so props.
Yeah, it's like sunspots where it does that like thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sun
really
flares. Sun flares.
It really does look like that.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, yellower, you
Right.
know, less, intense, but yeah.
If we look down here, we have Deadeye Tracker, 1 mana, 1/1, but you can tap 1 and a black, tap Exile 2 target cards from an opponent's graveyard, and have this guy explore. So it's like extra beneficial if they have cards that care about having stuff in their graveyard or whatever. You can get rid of those cards from their graveyard, and this guy will explore, so he has the chance to get bigger or just draw you lands. So super beneficial.
Yeah.
Then we have Amy. Look, it's a vehicle.
Yes.
Amy loves vehicles.
There are 2 vehicles.
Right. So this is the Fel Flagship, 3 mana, 3/3. It buffs pirates you control by +1/+1, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, and it has crew of 3. Now, notably, after the Kaladesh block, they really did not, the Kaladesh set, no, it was the block. They really kind of dialed it back a lot on vehicles, so these vehicles are not great.
Right.
Speaking of vehicles, as Amy pointed out, there is another one here as well.
I love that one.
Yes.
That art is so gorgeous.
It's nuts. I love it.
Just love it.
Yeah. I also love that it turns into a land, because it's super flavorful for what they talked about, where it's
Land ho.
well, no, but it's the fact that all the ships kind of come together into I forget what it's called, like Wet Dry Market or something. But it's like crashed ships put together, and they make like that pirate city that they lived on.
I had forgotten that.
I don't think that's what this is, to be fair, because you can kind of see the ship in the background on the right.
Yeah.
I feel like if I move too far over, you won't. But like you can kind of see it there.
But that's the Titanic. It's sinking.
Yes, clearly. But yeah, this is a 4 mana vehicle, crew 4, and it's a 2/10 creature, which is awesome. Yeah. When it attacks, you exile it at the end of combat and then return it to the battlefield transformed. So it doesn't actually get to... It can either deal damage or get blocked. It would only do 2 damage, but you could conceivably getting because it's at the end of combat, but then it comes back and it does all these fun different things. You can add mana with it, you can tap 2 to draw then discard, you can tap 4 to draw, or you can tap 6 and return a card from your graveyard to your hand, all very piratey-esque, so that's really cool. And then speaking of flip cards that turn into lands, finally we have the Growing Rights of Itlamok that just becomes a Gaia's Cradle, aka Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun. Gaia's Cradle, for those of you unaware, is a very good card from, I believe, Urza's Saga. I could be wrong, but I believe that is where it is from. That basically does the second ability on Itlamok, where you can just tap it and add a green mana to your mana pool for each creature you control. So you just get, like, that would very typically go in, like, an elf deck, because then you would just have a bunch of, like, Llanowar elves, and then you tap the elves to play out other creatures, and then you have a bunch of creatures, and you can just tap your Gaia's Cradle and have 1,000,000 green mana and play big scary stuff.
That sounds wonderful.
Exactly. Well, what this does is when it enters the battlefield, for Growing Rights of Itlamok, at least when it is an enchantment, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, and if you control 4 or more creatures at the beginning of your end step, transform it. So again, it wants to be in decks with a bunch of creatures. It transforms into Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun, and then you can just add 1,000,000 green mana. I mean, however many times you can tap and untap this thing. But yeah. So there you go. Growing Rights of Itlamok, very good card. I like that card a lot. So that is it for Ixalan. Let's move on to Rivals of Ixalan, shall we?
Yes.
See what cool stuff we can get here. Still no... Ooh. Okay, now we got some mythics. That's better. First of all...
Oh, we got a change of music here. I like this.
Yeah. Okay, so we got an Awakened Amalgam. Not exceptionally great card, but still fine. 4 mana 0/0. Well, that thing's dead. Nope. It has power and toughness equal to the number of differently named lands you control. So basics, non-basics, etc. So that's a thing. Release to the Wind? I barely remember this card. Exile a non-land permanent for as long as it remains exiled. Its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. Sure. Admiral's Order. 3 mana instant. If you attack with a creature this turn, you can play blue rather than 1 blue and counter a spell. It's just a cheapened version of Counterspell. Champion of Dusk, I remember being really cool. 5 mana 4/4. When it enters, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. Very cool. Good old Blood Moon? No. Blood Sun. When Blood Sun enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and all lands lose all abilities except mana abilities. Now, Blood Moon being the card that is best known in Modern for turning all non-basic lands into mountains, so that in and of itself turns off abilities of lands, except that would count mana abilities as well. This is kind of the fixed version of Blood Moon with Blood Sun.
Less broken version.
Right, but I mean, now that it's rotating, it's going to go back to being just kind of a random card, because Blood Moon is 3 mana and does infinitely more than this at this point. So,
how come the Awakened Amalgam looks all weird?
What do you mean?
No, don't go on it.
Oh, like
it's like stripey.
Yeah, I don't know that that'll come up on the capture, to be honest with you. That may be a screen thing. I'm not sure. We'll find out when this video goes live on the channel. But I'm really not sure. But yeah, it's like on the separation lines underneath the name and the text box and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like gray lines that keep on swinging.
Well, because it's moving.
Forth.
You can kind of see it here as well on the multicolored card underneath it.
Yeah, but that looks more normal.
Well,
that looks like it's just moving.
Well, speaking of the multicolored card underneath it, it's Protean Raider. It is a 2/2 for 3, and if you attacked with a creature this turn, you can have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, which is pretty cool.
Anytime I see that symbol for raid, I just immediately think it's a pair of scissors.
It does kind of look like that, right? It does. And then Itali Primal Storm. So we got one of the Elder Dinos. This Itali, a 6/6 for 6. When it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, and then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. So if you get
Got a
lands,
big mouth.
yes. So if you get lands, you're kind of screwed, but otherwise you're fine. I've got by this card many times. It's very rough. Journey to Eternity is cool. This is a different variation on the enchantment flipping into a legendary land. Enchant creature you control. When it dies, return it to the battlefield under your control, then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield, transformed under your control. And it's a land that taps to add 1 mana of any color, which is nice. Or for 3 black, green, and tap, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Ooh.
Very, very powerful ability there. I like that a lot. But notably, I was complaining that we weren't getting any mythics, so this set of 10 gave us 2. It gave us Polyraptor, which is a great card, 7 mana 5/5, so it's a little expensive, but whenever it is dealt damage, you create a token that is a copy of Polyraptor, including this Enrage ability. So if that token takes damage, you create a copy of that token / this Polyraptor. So, yeah. There are infinite combos in Standard where you would have the card that says when a dino enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to each creature. And so you deal 1 damage to Polyraptor. Polyraptor would duplicate and make another Polyraptor. That Polyraptor would come down and deal 1 damage to everything. And then both Polyraptors would take damage, so you'd duplicate both of them. So then 2 more would come down. Everything would take 2 damage,
Okay,
etc.
I'm done with this.
Yes. And last but not least for this collection, Rekindling Phoenix.
So
very
beautiful.
good, very, very good card as well. It is beautiful art, but it is also a very good card.
But also, the bird looks more like an owl than a phoenix.
I fully agree with you. I think it looks like an owl as well. I've always thought it looked like an owl. I just kind of like accepted that it was an owl, like that they called it a phoenix, but that it was an owl the whole time anyway. That's just what I've gone with the whole time. Let us know in the comments. Do you agree?
Maybe they're rekindling some wisdom. So
maybe
the phoenix is manifesting now as an owl,
as a wise
instead
old
of a
owl.
phoenix.
It's possible.
Yeah, I'm just pulling stuff out.
Yep. I mean, whatever. You ready for the next 10? The last 10 Rivals of Ixalan?
Yes.
Let's do it. We get, lots of stuff over here. We get another Elder Dino, notably, in Zetalpa Primal Dawn. It's got to cycle through because of all of its keywords. But it is 8 mana for a 4/8 flying double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible.
Jesus.
Very cool card in Zetalpa. There's Wayward Swordtooth, which has Ascend. That's the first Ascend card we've seen in this instance of opening packs. So when you have 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing, and this card cares about that because 3 mana for a 5/5, which seems insane. And you may play an additional land on each of your turns. That's something, I guess. But it can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing.
Oh, okay.
So you could play this on turn 3, but it's not going to do a lot until you have 10 or more permanents, and then it will be a 5/5 that can attack. So if you have a way of doing that quickly, great. Then you can probably get in for some early strong damage. But yeah.
Yeah, I would not want to be under this thing when it ascends.
No, you
it
ascend.
Could fall.
I don't think this ascends. You ascend because you have the City's Blessing. It doesn't have the City's Blessing.
Oh.
You have the City's Blessing. But if you have the City's Blessing, it does other things for you.
Oh, okay.
It's you basically, you're on, from a flavor standpoint, you're on the Immortal Sun. And so you're using its power like Vona and Kumena did.
Gotcha.
and everybody
Well,
else.
Mana fell out the window.
That's because Vona threw him out the window and then took control of the sun. Another Admiral's Order. This is the Snapcaster Mage, but in red. 1 in a red for a 2/1 first strike. When it enters battlefield, exile an instant or a sorcery from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast that card this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. If it would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Very Indiana Jonesy.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm sure you do. Hey, look. A Merfolk.
I love it.
In World Shaper. When it attacks, you can put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. And when it dies, put all lands from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. Temple Altasaur, another dino, a 3/4 for 5. If a source would deal damage to another dino you control, prevent all but one of that damage. That's a very good combo with Polyraptor.
Ooh.
Because then it would just deal 1 damage to Polyraptor and you would be able to duplicate it right then and there.
Nice.
So yeah. Temple Altasaur, pretty sweet card. Speaking of dinos, Silverclad Ferocidons. 7 mana, 8/5. And when it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent.
Ooh.
So even if they don't have any creatures, this makes them sack a permanent, so they have to sack a land or an enchantment or an artifact or something. Speaking of creatures and lands and artifacts, here is Golden Guardian. I feel like I liked this card at first, and I don't know that it's good enough. But it's a 4 mana 4/4 with Defender, but you can tap 2 and have it fight another target creature you control. When it dies this turn, return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. So you have to have it fight something you control, and then it has to die, and then presumably you have to hope that your other thing doesn't also die.
Right.
Because otherwise you're just losing 2 of your creatures. But then this comes back as a land that you can tap to add 2 mana of any one color, or tap 4 and tap it and make a 4/4 colorless golem artifact creature token. So you're basically making the Golden Guardian back again.
Not enough.
But it doesn't have Defender. And you can do it any number of times you want because this is a land. So you can do it like, every turn or whatever.
Okay.
Just make a ton of 4/4s. So after 2 turns, you've paid yourself back if this and the creature it fought both died.
Right.
But you need to be confident in the fact that you have 2 turns to be able to, futz around with tapping 4 mana and this land every time, So
I do love the art.
it's really cool.
The pouring of the lava into its body and
Whoops. Sorry, everybody. I just
Whatnot.
knocked the table. That is not lava. If you notice, it is gold because that is a gold forge garrison. So it is just molten gold.
very cool.
Right? Very, very cool. Again, apologies for knocking the table, guys. My bad. And then if we're talking about flip cards, we have Path of Metal. So it is Path of Metal and then flips into Metzali Tower of Triumph. So when it enters, it deals 1 damage to each creature that doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste. And whenever you attack with at least 2 creatures that have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, and or Haste, transform it. And then when it is Metzali, you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Or for 1 in a red, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Or for 2 in a white, choose a creature at random that attacked this turn and destroy that creature.
Wow. Okay.
Seems really interesting. Kind of a lot.
Yeah,
a lot to make it
going on
work.
there.
Yeah, it's a little tough, I feel like. And then for our third flip card of these 10, and our only mythic of these 10, Azor's Gateway.
Yeah.
For 2 mana, it's a legendary artifact. 1 mana, tap it, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand. If cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs are exiled with Azor's Gateway, you gain 5 life, untap Azor's Gateway, and transform it. Then, when it is a legendary land, Sanctum of the Sun, you can tap it to add X mana of any one color, where X is your life total. AKA, there is no way that you are ever doing this ever. Ever. Why? That sounds awful. No thank you. But yeah, those are things that, this is a thing that exists. And it's our third mythic today, so there's that. Ready to move on to Dominaria?
Yes.
10 Dominaria packs gets us more wild cards, as well as 2 more wild cards in the packs themselves. If you notice, we opened a Jozu Vess Lich Knight.
Nice.
But
I
it's
love him.
but it's a legendary creature, so it would be weird to have 2 of them.
Wouldn't
We opened 2 Jozu Vess Lich Knights, excuse me. So that's interesting.
I do love him though.
Yeah, he's pretty great. He's a very, very good card. Very, very
Get me
good.
one of them hats. What do you think?
It looks heavy.
It does, but it would be worth it.
I want to get me one of those hammer. Is that a hammer? Is it a mace?
It looks like one of those sock flags,
It really does.
or maybe like a toxic sperm.
I was going to say jellyfish. You got to go crude with it.
Either way, it's toxic.
Yes, that's fair. So to go along with black legendary creatures, we also have Kazarov Sengir Pureblood, 7 mana, 4/4 flying, which is not very good.
Which is not
vanilla.
very
Well,
good.
vanilla test, it's not good. I don't want to pay 7 mana for a 4/4, thank you. But it has flying, so that's something. And whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. So he definitely gets better. And for 4 mana, you can have him deal 2 damage to target creature. So he can activate himself, basically. Which is great. Then if we move on to, we have a Woodland Cemetery. So we had gotten another dual land earlier. Tapped unless you control a swamp or a forest. The other one was white-blue, so this one is black-green, which is cool. And then if we move to our green cards, since we just looked at black, now we're on to a black-green land. Let's look at our green cards. Marwyn the Nurturer.
She looks pretty badass. She doesn't look super nurturing.
Well, she's got the
She's
baby.
just a mama.
Yeah. But whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you get a +1/+1 counter on Marwyn, and then you can tap to add an amount of green mana equal to Marwyn's power.
Oh.
So the
She's
more...
a badass mama.
Yeah, basically. The more elves you have, the stronger she becomes, and the more mana she can produce.
The baby looks cute.
It's adorable. Another 3 mana green spell, in Sylvan Awakening, until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste, and they're still lands. Just all lands you control for 3 mana.
Damn.
I remember using this at pre-release. Somebody attacked me for 9. It was a guy that I know pretty well from our local game store. He attacked me for 9, and I was at 11. And I'm thinking about blocks, looking at my hand, and then I just looked at him and I went, I'll take it. And he looked horrified. And on my next turn, I tapped 3 mana, played this card, pushed my lands forward, and just tapped all of my creatures and all my lands. And he shook my hand because that was the end of the game. He said to me afterwards, he was like, when you took that 9 damage, I knew I was dead.
Yep.
So yeah, this card definitely can trigger some blowouts, because if it's late enough in the game, you're going to have a lot more than 3 mana. And so that's just 5 more surprise creatures out of nowhere for your opponent to have to deal with. Even though they're 2/2s, 5 2/2s, that's 10 damage. So yeah. And then we have, for more green cards, Verdant Force. 5, 6, 7, 8 mana for a 7/7. And at the beginning of each upkeep, you get a 1/1 green Saproling.
He's so cool.
Yes, very, very cool. You love your green elementals because you're a Nissa girl at heart.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is the Benelish Marshal, which is a great card. 3 white mana, so a little tough to cast for a 3/3, but other creatures you control get +1/+1. So it's a cool card. Next set of 10. Let's do it.
Joyra.
Well, it's still Dominaria, but yes. Ooh, Mythics.
Ooh, sweet.
Oh my goodness.
We got a couple Teferi
Wow.
things up in here.
Yeah, we got an Oath of Teferi and a Teferi Hero of Dominaria.
What is this helmet?
Oh, you don't remember this thing?
No.
Helm of the Host. So you see the duplicate faces on the sides there? Isn't that cool?
It's so creepy. What?
Yep.
And we have Yoda.
It's not Yoda. It's Squee.
not?
No, it's Squee.
It's Yoda.
Excuse me. We also have Rada.
Sweet.
Giving no love to Rada over here. We love Rada. Yeah, Rada is awesome. We got a Mox Amber as well
Yeah.
for Mythics. This card's nuts. Also, yeah, just
What
a
about
great
this one
card.
down here?
Which one? Primeval's Glorious Rebirth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great card. I mean, Noah Bradley.
Yeah.
So, of course. Return all
That's
legendary.
what made me notice it.
Return all legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, very cool. We also have the Mending of Dominaria.
Ooh.
So
A saga?
yeah, one of the sagas. Yeah, very cool card.
It is.
Steel Leaf Champion. So we had the Benelish Marshal. This is the green version of the Benelish Marshal. This is triple green, but this is a 5/4 creature instead of a 3/3, and its ability says it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So it's got to be blocked by something big, and you're probably going to kill that big thing, or since you're playing it on hopefully you're playing it on turn 3, hopefully they're not able to block at all, and you're just dealing them 5 damage a couple times.
I
Because
think it's a rabid saber-toothed pig.
it's wow. Since the card is the Elf Knight, referring to the thing riding it, I cannot tell you what it is riding. All it says flavor text-wise is one eye open to see the truth of the world, one eye covered to gaze at the goddess within.
Wow.
Because
Deep.
she's got an eye patch on. And the Helm of the Host, because we were talking about it before, basically at the beginning of combat on your turn, you create a token that's a copy of the equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary if the equipped creature is legendary, and that token gains haste. But you need 4 mana to play it and 5 mana to equip it, so I don't see myself using it despite how cool it might look.
Yeah.
And it's definitely cool. We also got Torgar, and he's sweet. There's not really too much more to say about him, but he's big and scary and 8 mana and a 7/6, and you can reduce his cost, but regardless. Okay, we are on to Core Set 2019.
Okay.
You ready? We got 2 sets of 10, and then we'll do 5 one at a time. Ooh.
Oh.
A Mythic Wild card and a Mythic Planeswalker.
Yes.
Sarkin Fireblood. That's really cool. I don't think he's like an amazing card. Although, if you can get him to 7, you get 4 5/5 dragons with flying. So that's
Oh,
cool.
God. I was just thinking about how bad it would burn if your blood turned to fire.
That's a terrible thing to think about. Why would you think about something like that?
Because he's fire blood.
I mean, yeah, but still, no thank you. Hey, there is a Knights sub-theme in Eldraine that we've learned about so far. Mm-hmm. So this card could work well with it. 3 and a white for a 3/4 human knight. And other knights you control get +1/+1. And then for 5 mana, knights you control gain double strike until end of turn.
Ooh.
So yeah, there are definitely some cards that care about knights in Eldraine. So that's pretty awesome. Hey, look, a Merfolk.
Yeah.
In Core Set 2019, not in Ixalan or Rivals of Ixalan. It's 1 mana, 1/1. Sacrifice it, and until end of turn, if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Stop people from doing busted things. I love this art.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
It's so cool. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Then you draw a card for each land card put into that graveyard this way. I am all about a milling strategy if you can make it work. This card could help you get there, but I like it a lot.
Oh, we were talking about Star Trek the other day.
Okay.
And like beaming up. And that's what these blue stripes remind me of.
I see that. Very good. Very, very good. Good point. We have a Thorn Lieutenant. It's another elf. This is an elf warrior. When it becomes the target of a spell or an ability, you get a 1/1 elf warrior, which is cool. And then you can tap 6 and give her +4/+4 until end of turn. So she would become a 6/7 until end of turn.
Alrighty then.
Kind of a big deal, but
Yeah.
she's 2 mana to play and then 6 mana to activate. So yeah, I mean, 6 mana for a 6/7 seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then we've got Wind Reader Sphinx.
Ooh.
7 mana, 3/7 flying. Whenever a creature with flying attacks, you may draw a card. So it counts itself, but it can count other creatures with flying too. If you want to just leave this back, first of all, it's a great blocker because it's a 3/7. It can block in the air or on the ground. And you can leave it back so that your other flyers will, when they attack, will draw you cards. And it keeps this one safe from having to get into combat. If we move over, the Amulet of Safekeeping. Whenever you become the target of a spell or an ability, counter that spell unless the controller pays 1. So that just kind of sits there, and then creature tokens get -1/-0. This card's whatever. It's just whatever. Goreclaw is incredible, though.
Oh, it's a bear. I thought it was a werewolf.
Cool. No, it's a bear. Yeah, Goreclaw,
It's the bear.
Terror of Calcisma. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less. So that's great.
Yes.
And whenever it attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and trample until end of turn.
Ooh.
So every creature that you have that has 4 or more power to start the combat has now 5 minimum power, and they all have trample. That's crazy.
Sweet.
Yeah. Goreclaw is awesome. And then a Phylactery Lich. This card's been printed many times. It's very flavorful for what a Phylactery Lich is and does from the world of D&D, for example.
Can I ask what that is?
So a Lich obviously is just an undead mage.
Right.
But a Phylactery is, you know what the best way to put it is? It is a Horcrux.
Oh, okay.
A Phylactery is a Lich's Horcrux. But
It's just such a weird name.
yes.
I mean,
but
not
it's
that Horcrux isn't.
but it's 3 black mana for a 5/5 indestructible. As Phylactery Lich enters the battlefield, put a Phylactery counter on an artifact you control.
Yeah, makes
When
sense.
you control no permanents with Phylactery counters on them, sacrifice Phylactery Lich. So if you destroy his Phylactery, yeah, it's super flavorful. I love it so much. And speaking of artifacts that you could put Phylactery counters on, here's Dragon Horde. I do not remember this card being very good.
Ooh, Dragon's Horde.
Yeah. Again, in D&D, this would be great. I just don't feel like this is a very good Magic card. 3 mana, whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, put a gold counter on it. You can tap it, remove a gold counter, and draw a card. Or you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color. It's a mana rock at best. Unless you get lucky with this Sarkhan that I said wasn't very good and you probably weren't going to play. Because if you could ultimate him, you get 4 dragons, which means you get 4 gold counters on this, which means in 4 turns you could have drawn 4 extra cards. That's sarcasm. That's not impressive at all.
Okay. Well,
All right. I'm going to open a single pack.
Sarkhan looks cool in the picture.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a bunch of things. There's Dispersed, which I love that art a lot. Regal Bloodlord is cool. Things that care about vampires. And Fountain of Renewal. And it's a rare wild card. Then we do this. We get another pack. Yay, we got another rare wild card. Psychic Symbiont.
Ew.
He's so cool. A Nightmare Horror. I love him.
That's going to haunt my nightmares for sure.
Good.
I will be horrified.
Hey, we got a Detection Tower. Until end of turn, your opponents and creatures your opponents control with hexproof can be the target of spells or abilities you control, as though they didn't have hexproof. I do not see this ever being a thing ever that matters.
Okay.
Because you'd have to put it in your deck and know that there are hexproof things that you care about. I just don't see that happening. Sure Strike. Look at that art. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Of course, Starcrowned Stag is an awesome piece of art as well.
Yeah.
We got a Dwarven Priest in the last pack as well. Fiery Finish is cool.
Yeah.
7 damage to target creature for 6 mana. It's not a great card, but the art looks cool.
Yeah.
And
It
a
looks like
mythic
ribbon
wild card,
dancing, but with fire.
which is much more dangerous. Okay.
Nah, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Ooh, Plague Mare.
Ooh.
So cool. Hey, look, a dragon. Spark Tongue Dragon, to be exact. Another Dwarven Priest. 3 for 3 on the Dwarven Priests. And an Electrify. 4 damage to target creature. I like that card. Plus, Wall of Mist is so cool. Look at that art.
Yeah.
It's so, like, scary and imposing that it's back there like that. And... Ooh, Liliana's Contract.
Always loved that art.
It's really awesome.
Damn.
Really, really cool. All right, let's open 10, and then we will end the video opening a single pack and see if it's exciting or not exciting. Probably not exciting, but that's fine. Ooh, whoa. We got 3 mythics in this one. Holy
Sweet.
crap, including Chromium.
Yeah.
So cool. We got a Transmogrifying Wand. Shout out to Loading Ready Run for their preview card. It has 3 charges, and you can use those charges to destroy a creature and replace it with a 2/4 white ox creature token. It's so cool.
It's so cute.
And you can only do it 3 times. But still, it's really cool. Hey, look, it's Tezzeret, one with the machine. Ooh. When I grafted the planar bridge onto myself, I felt my Planeswalker spark flare beyond my body. The multiverse was my plaything. It felt incredible. Tezzeret.
Meh, whatever.
Wow. Hey, look, another
Dude's an
Goreclaw.
asshole.
Yeah, well, yeah. Another Goreclaw.
Yeah.
That's cool. Open the Graves, 5 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get a zombie creature token. Seems pretty cool. Desecrated Tomb. Whenever one or more creatures leave your graveyard, you get a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. This card seems awful.
I love the art, though. It's
Yeah.
like one of my favorites.
Well, good.
It's so cute.
It is cool. Palaka Worm.
I love Halloween. It's very Halloweeny.
Oh, yes, that's fair.
Palaka Worm.
Palaka Worm. 7 mana, 7/7 trample. And when it enters the battlefield...
Leech mouth.
Well, yeah, it's a big old scary worm thing. I think these are... Yeah, like, look at the scale humans on the bottom here. See it on the bottom left? Those are human beings.
Oh my god.
And then I think these are trees down here. Like, I think they're, like, up on a hill or something.
That's
and
horrifying.
then down in the bottom middle, I think these are trees. But yeah, this thing is huge. It's a 7/7. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 7 life. And when it dies, you draw a card.
Wow.
Yeah. Vivian's Invocation. So she's shooting her arrow and turning it into a tiger. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then our last 2 mythics are Crucible of Worlds, which is a reprint. And I know a lot of people were happy to see it be reprinted to help with cost for Eternal formats. But it says you may play land cards from your graveyard.
Ooh.
So again, it still has to deal with the rule of you can only play 1 land per turn.
Okay.
But still, if you have cards that like ask you to sack lands or something, with this card on the field, you can then replay those lands from your graveyard if you don't have any in your hand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That sounds good.
And then Bone Dragon.
Whoa.
5 mana, 5/4 flying. And then for 5, you can exile 7 other cards from your graveyard to return Bone Dragon from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So that ability isn't as good, but a 5 mana, 5/4 flying is fine. I don't think it's like super heavy mythic status, but you have to exile 7 other cards. So yeah, this doesn't feel mythic. Chromium is insane. Very good card. And Crucible is great for obvious reasons. So, as I said, last but not least for this video, 1 more pack, and it gives us a common wild card, a Gravedigger, a Lava Axe, a Pizza Maker, Rock's Oracle, Root Snare, it's a fog, Trusty Pack Beast, Colossal Majesty.
I love that one.
Right? So cool. And our last rare or mythic for this particular video, like I said, stay tuned for these, is the Sigiled Sword of Valoron.
Ooh.
It's such a cool name. That's such a cool name to say. I would like to play the Sigiled Sword of Valoron. So cool. And we're going into the Knight set. But yeah, it's an equipment. Equip for play for 3, equip for 3. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has vigilance, and is a knight in addition to its other types. Whenever it attacks, you make a 2/2 white knight with vigilance that is attacking. So again, for Throne of Eldraine, for cards that care about knights, this actually may be something. So we are appropriately leaving it off with a knight-based card. Hopefully you are all enjoying the Throne of Eldraine previews and all the other fun things that are going on with Throne of Eldraine. Definitely stay tuned to the channel for a lot more in terms of MTG Arena, in terms of Throne of Eldraine, in terms of Magic the Gathering. Feel free to go check out, I'm sure it will pop up in a minute, our this is our Magic the Gathering channel, but we also have a video games channel that we just recently started.
Yes.
So you can definitely go check that out if you're interested in Hearthstone as well as Magic. We have that over there. But also, more importantly, our flagship series of Amy and I playing through games. We are currently playing through Pokemon Red. Classic Pokemon Red. Amy playing through it for the first time.
Yes.
So definitely go check that out. Go check out that whole channel. Feel free to subscribe. It would help us out a lot. But obviously, we think it is super entertaining, so we hope you enjoy. For now, though, from what is now the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.